Hi, I'm Anita. Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be making a rope necklace, and in today's project these are some of the materials you're going to be needing: some SuperDuos, some 11/0 seed beads in two colors. So I have these in a blue iris and galvanized silver. You're also going to be needing some 3mm glass pearls, and I've got light pink for those. My SuperDuos are the standard SuperDuos, and these are in a light pink as well. You're also going to need 6-pound fireline, and you're going to need about 20 feet of that. We'll be working in wingspans of 2, and you'll most likely be needing to add thread, and I will show you how to do that as well. You're also going to need some flat nose pliers, a couple of pairs of flat nose pliers, a pair of scissors, and a magnetic clasp. I'm also going to use 2 closed jump rings and 2 regular open jump rings. And I believe that's everything. So I'll have a list of all the materials with exact measurements and counts in the description box. If you click more below this video, it'll give you all the details that you need for today's project. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start by threading our needle with a couple of wingspans of fireline, and I'm using a stop bead today. So just pop one of those on, and you want to leave about an 8-inch tail so that you can put your clasp on one of the other ends, at the other end of your necklace. And so now that you've got your stop bead on, what you're going to do is you're going to pick up a SuperDuo in pink, and you're going to pick up an 11/0 in the blue iris. Now this is color A and this is color B. So we're alternating SuperDuo and the 11/0 in the blue iris, and you're going to put a total of 6 beads on. So you're alternating SuperDuo 11/0, SuperDuo 11/0, SuperDuo, and 11/0. So bring that down to your stop bead. And from here, you're going to go back through all of your beads. So I'm going to bring my needle through the same holes that I went through initially in my SuperDuos, and also all of the 11/0 beads, like that. Just pull that all together. And I'm going to advance my needle through a couple more beads to pull this together. I'm going to go through the hole that I've already been through in the SuperDuo and the next 11/0, like that, and I'm going to pull. So you want to have a little triangle shape like that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring our needle up through the second hole of the SuperDuo, right here. So now we're going to pick up 4 of our blue iris seed beads. You're going to bring those down to your work, and you're going to bring your needle back through the first blue iris that you picked up, going in that opposite direction, right here, and then you're going to go through the next empty hole of the SuperDuo, like that. Pull, and that's going to make a little picot. We're going to repeat that. Pick up 4 of your blue iris, bring that down, and I'm going to bring my needle back through the first blue iris and then through the empty hole of that next SuperDuo, like that, and pull. I'm going to do that one more time. Pick up 4 of your blue iris, bring that down, and now when I bring my needle back through the first bead and then through the empty hole of the SuperDuo, like that, and pull. And you're going to have what looks like a little triangle here. Just pull that nice and snug. So you're going to kind of push this together like that. Now what we're going to do from here, right now our needle is coming out of this SuperDuo right here. We're going to go in through these next 3 beads here, following the thread path. I'm going to go through this bottom seed and then this seed bead and then the one at the top, because I want to be on the top of my picot. So I'm going to go through that bead first, pull. It's going to be a little wonky at first, but you have to get a few rows and it'll get a little easier to hold. So now I'm going to go through the next 2 beads. Right here, and pull. So that's going to have your thread coming out of the top of the picot like that. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to pick up another SuperDuo, and we're exiting the top of the picot here. We're going into the top of the next picot. So with our needle going through the seed bead in the next picot and our SuperDuos on there, we're going to pull our thread to place that SuperDuo between those picots. Now we're going to pick up another SuperDuo, and check your SuperDuos as you're doing this to make sure you don't have any blocked holes, because that does happen. So I'm exiting this picot here, and I'm going into the next picot right here. And I'm going to pull. I'm going to do that one more time. Pick up another SuperDuo. Doesn't matter which hole you go into. And I'm exiting this picot here, and I'm going to close the gap by going into the top hole of this picot and into the SuperDuo, the same hole that I've already been through, and pull. So that's going to give you your 3 SuperDuos in a little cluster like that. So now we're going to reinforce this by going back through the next 6 beads. So we're going to go back through the 11-0 and the bottom hole of the SuperDuo, and we're going to do that 2 more times. Going through the 11-0 and the bottom hole of the next SuperDuo, like that. Pull, and I'm going to do that one more time. Go through the 11-0 and the bottom hole of that next SuperDuo, and pull. And I'm using a size 10 beading needle for this. So now that we've gone through reinforced, I'm going to go up through the empty hole of the SuperDuo I'm coming out of. Down here, I'm going to go up through the empty hole like that and pull. Now I'm going to pick up an 11-0 in blue iris. Coming out of the top hole of the SuperDuo, I'm going to go into the next SuperDuo empty hole and pull. And I'm going to do that 2 more times. Go through the next one, pull, Pick up another 11-0 in blue iris, exiting here, going in through this SuperDuo and the 11-0 to step up. And pull. So that's what you should have so far. So as you get some length on this, it'll get easier to hold. So now we're going to do 2 rows of netting. So coming out of this 11-0 here, I'm going to pick up my galvanized silver, blue iris, and a galvanized silver, like that. Exiting this 11-0, going in through, skipping the SuperDuo and going into the next 11-0. I'm going to do that 2 more times. Pick up a silver, blue iris, and silver, exiting this 11-0, skip the SuperDuo, go in through the next 11-0. And one more time, pick up silver, blue, and silver, exiting this 11-0, skipping the SuperDuo, going into the next 11-0, and then I'm going to step up by going through the next 2 beads, like that. So you want to be coming out of that blue bead after the silver one. And make sure your beads are sitting on top like that. So that's my first row of netting. I need to do 1 more row of netting. And if you notice, I have my dark blue. It's kind of like a triangle shape. So I'm going to do another row of netting, picking up silver, blue, and silver. Exiting this 11-0, I'm going into this 11-0 right here. So I'm going to bring that through. I got to do this 2 more times to complete my second row of netting. Pick up silver, blue, and silver. Now I'm going from here, coming out of this 11-0, going into this 11-0 right here. Just think of a triangle so that you know where you need to go next. So now I've got to pick up 1 more silver, blue, silver. I'm exiting this 11-0 here. I'm going into this 11-0 to complete and stepping up to the next 2 beads, like that. Pull. So that completes the 2 rows of netting. For our next step, we're going to be placing a pearl, 3 pearls, after this netting. So we're going to pick up a 3mm pearl. We're exiting this 11-0 here, and think of the triangle shape. You're going from this 11-0 to this 11-0 to this 11-0. So we're going from here for the first pearl into that 11-0, pull, and you're doing that 2 more times. Picking up another pearl, exiting this 11-0, coming down to this 11-0 right here. Pull. 1 more pearl, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0, and then stepping up into the pearl that you started with. Pull. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a blue iris in between each pearl. So you're going to pick up the 11-0 in blue iris, exiting this pearl, going into the next pearl. Pick up another blue iris, go into the next pearl. And then 1 more time. Pick up a blue iris, go through the pearl, and then you're going to step up into the 11-0 after the pearl that you added, the first one you added, to complete this pattern. So if you're not sure where you're at, you should have 2 blue irises in between each purl, like that, 3 times. So now we have to put another 2 rows of netting. So that's going to start our pattern over. So we're going to do a silver, a blue, and a silver. Exiting this 11-0, going into this next 11-0, skipping the purl. Right there. Pull. And repeat 2 more times. Exiting this 11-0, skip the purl, and go into this next 11-0. Pull. And then another time, silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going in, skipping the purl, going in through the next 11-0, and then you're going to step up to the next 2 beads, coming out of the blue iris after the silver, and pull. That completes that row of netting, and we need to do 1 more row of netting. So we're picking up silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0 right here. Pull. Pick up another silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0. We have to do that 1 more time. Pick up silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0, and then stepping up to the next silver and blue, like that. Pull. That completes my 2nd row of netting. That's what you should have. So now we're going to repeat this pattern from here for the length of our bracelet. So we're going to do what we did here. We're going to pick up SuperDuos next. So I'm going to do 1 more pattern with you, and then that's going to be repeated until you get the length that you want. And for today's bracelet, I'm going to do a 19-inch length with my clasp. That'll end up being about pretty close to 21 inches. So from here, I'm going to pick up a SuperDuo. I'm going to do that 3 times. So I'm exiting this blue right here. I'm going to bring my needle through this blue iris down here. Pick up another SuperDuo, exiting that 11-0, going into this next 11-0. Pick up another SuperDuo, exiting this 11-0, going in through the next 11-0, and then stepping up to the bottom hole of that next SuperDuo. And pull. So from here, I'm going to advance my thread, coming out of this bottom hole SuperDuo. I'm going into the empty hole of that same SuperDuo, the top, to step up. So from here, I'm going to pick up and start doing my picots like I did here. Pick up 4 in the blue, bring that down, and I want to bring my thread back through in the opposite direction. So there's my 4 blue iris. I'm going to bring my needle through this direction, through that first 11-0, and then through the empty hole of that SuperDuo next in line, and pull. And that will place the picot in between those 2 SuperDuos like that. So I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. Pick up 4 in my blue iris, bring that down, and I'm going to bring my needle back through the first blue iris in the opposite direction like that, and then also through the empty hole of that next SuperDuo in line. Now we'll place the next picot. I'm going to do that 1 more time. Pick up 4 in blue, bring that down, bring my needle back through the first blue iris and then through the empty hole of that SuperDuo next in line. And that adds the picots. So you should have 3 like that. So now what we're going to do is advance through the next 3 seed beads following the thread path. So I'm coming through this bead, and then the top bead because I want to be at the top of my picot. So I'm going to start by going in through that bead first, like that. Then I'm going to bring my needle through these next 2 beads to take me to the top of my picot. Right here, like that, and pull. So now I'm ready to add 3 more SuperDuos at the top of each picot. So now pick up your next SuperDuo, exiting the top of this picot, going into the next picot, the top. Pull, and do that 2 more times. Pick up a SuperDuo, exiting here, going through the next picot, pull, pick up another SuperDuo, exiting the picot, going into the last picot to close this off, and also through the SuperDuo, the bottom hole, pull. And now we're going to reinforce by going through the 11-0 and the SuperDuo bottom hole. Again, the 11-0 bottom hole of the SuperDuo. And then 1 more time, the 11-0 and the bottom hole of the SuperDuo. And then you're going to step up, bringing your needle through the top hole of the SuperDuo you just went through, like that. Now we're going to pick up an 11-0, going from this top hole SuperDuo to the next empty hole. And repeat 2 more times. Pick up 11-0 in blue, go through the next SuperDuo, pick up another 11-0, and go through the next SuperDuo, and then step up to the 11-0 that's next in line. So now we just finished adding these 2 sets of SuperDuos. Now we're going to do our netting, 2 rows of netting. So you're going to pick up silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, skip the SuperDuo and go to the next 11-0. Repeat 2 more times. Silver, blue, silver, skip the SuperDuo and go into the next 11-0. Repeat 1 more time. Silver, blue, silver, skip the SuperDuo and go into the 11-0 after the SuperDuo, and then step up to the next 2 beads. Like that. pull. So we need to do one more row of netting. Repeat that 3 times. Silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0. Pick up another silver, blue, and silver, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0. Now pick up one more silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going in through this 11-0, and then stepping up to the next 2. And that completes your 2 rows of netting. So now we're going to do the 3 pearls here. So pick up a pearl, exiting this 11-0, going in through this 11-0. So if you just think in terms of a triangle, that's where your thread path should be going, from this 11-0 to this 11-0 to this 11-0, and then back to complete your circle. So let's go ahead and put our first pearl on, and then repeat that 2 more times. And then 1 more pearl. And go back through the 11-0 before the pearl, and then through the pearl to step up. So once you've added your pearls, then you have to add another row of 11-0s in blue to close that off. So pick up a 11-0 in blue, exiting this pearl, going into the next pearl, and you're going to do that 2 more times. Pick up an 11-0 in blue, exiting this pearl, going into the next pearl. And then 1 more time, pick up an 11-0, exit this pearl, and go through the pearl and step up to the next 11-0. Now we're going to do 2 more rows of netting after the pearls. So pick up silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going into that 11-0. Do that 2 more times. Pick up silver, blue, silver, exiting here, going into this next 11-0. Pick up another silver, blue, and silver, exiting here, going into this next 11-0 after the pearl, and then step up through the next 2 seed beads and pull. And then we're going to do this row 1 more time. Pick up silver, blue, and silver, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0 here. Pick up silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going into this 11-0 here. And we have to do this 1 more time. Pick up silver, blue, and silver, exiting this 11-0, going through this 11-0, and stepping up to the next 2 beads. And that completes the 2 rows of netting. So from here, you're going to repeat this pattern for the full length of your bracelet. And if you need to rewind, go ahead and do that. So your next steps, just to give you a quick guideline, after you do your 2 rows of netting, you're going to be picking up your SuperDuos. 3 SuperDuos. Then after you pick up your 3 SuperDuos, you're going to add your little picots here. Then you're going to add another set of SuperDuos, and then you're going to add the 11 O's in between the SuperDuos to close that off, and then your 2 rows of netting, your pearls, and then a row of 11O in blue, and then 2 rows of netting. And you're going to repeat that for the full length of your bracelet. So when you get to the point where you've got about 6 to 8 inches of thread left on your needle, you're going to want to add thread. Now you could also make this into a bracelet as well, so it's up to you. Today's tutorial will be doing the 19-inch length. So go ahead and continue adding your pattern and rewind as needed, and then I will show you how to add thread. I'm going to show you how to add thread on a project. This particular thing I'm working on is a rope necklace. And for those of you who are making this rope necklace, this is where you're going to add thread. And I'm leaving about 6 inches. You can leave a little bit more to give you some room. I'm coming out of a SuperDuo here, and I've just added these 11O seed beads in between. What I'm going to do first of all is reinforce before I introduce my new thread. So I'm going to go through 2 beads at a time. I'm going through these 6 beads. Now I'm going through these next 2. And then through these next 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my working thread and I'm going to start weaving it down. So I'm going down through this SuperDuo second hole here. I'm going to tie a half hitch knot right here by going under a thread bridge, pull my needle through, form a small loop, and then bring my needle back through and pull. Now I'm going through a seed bead and the bottom hole of this SuperDuo. And I'm going to do another half hitch knot. And I'm going to weave my thread down through these seed beads. Down through these next 2. Down through the SuperDuo. And through the next second hole of that SuperDuo. Now I'm just going to weave my thread down through these seed beads. Just follow a thread path, and it doesn't really matter what direction you go. And here's where I'm going to clip off my thread. Now that's my old thread, and I'm going to introduce a new thread. So thread your needle, and I'm going to come back a few beads through this seed bead right here, and then through the SuperDuo, like that. There's no right or wrong way to introduce a new thread. Just come in whatever direction it's going to be easiest for you. And then you don't need a very long tail because we're going to do some half hitch knots on our pathway up. So hold on to your tail. So I've got a very short tail here, and I'm going to go under this first thread bridge right there. And I'm going to pull my thread and form a small loop, just like I did. So I'm going to pull my thread till I have a small loop, like that. Bring my needle through and pull. and get that knot right there by your bead. So now I'm going to bring my needle through the next hole of that SuperDuo. And I'm going to go up to the top hole of that SuperDuo. And I'm going to do another half hitch knot here under a thread bridge. Form a loop and bring my needle through that loop and pull. Now I'm going to travel through these two seed beads here. And I'm going to travel through this seed bead here and the SuperDuo right there. At this point, I'm going to cut this little short tail off because that's pretty secure. And now I'm going to finish weaving my thread after tying a couple more half hitch knots. So I'm coming out of this SuperDuo, I'm going under this thread bridge, and I'm going to do another knot. And now I'm going to bring my needle up through the second hole of this SuperDuo. And now I'm going to bring my thread through a couple of more beads. So I'm coming out of a 11-0 that's in between my SuperDuos. Like that. So that is how you add thread to a rope project. So I'm coming out of my seed bead here, and I'm going to continue with my pattern. Just like that. Very simple. Okay, so I'm back, and I have quite a length here, getting close to the end of my 19-inch goal. And right now I just did my pearls here with the row of 11-0s after that, so that you can see I've got my two blue 11-0s for each pearl. And now I'm going to do my 2 rows of netting to continue. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do this when I get to the end. So I'm going to go from this 11-0 into this 11-0 to start my netting. Do that again, going into this next 11-0, and then one more time, exiting here, going into this 11-0, and then stepping up through the next 2. And then I have to do another row of netting, picking up my blue, silver, silver, blue, silver, exiting this 11-0, going in through this one, and do that 2 more times. Exiting here, going into this one, and then 1 more time. Exiting here, going into this 11-0 and stepping up to the next 2 11-0s like that. And pull. That completes the 2 rows of netting after my purl. And so to conclude this bracelet, I'm going to add this next set of SuperDuos. So I'm going to pick up a SuperDuo, exiting here, going into this next 11-0, and 2 more times. Exiting here, going into this next 11-0, pick up another SuperDuo, and going in through this 11-0 and through the next SuperDuo. Now I'm going to step up, going from this bottom hole to the top hole of this SuperDuo. I'm going to do my picots, picking up 4 in Blue Iris, bringing that down, going back through the first Blue Iris, and then through the next SuperDuo. Do that 2 more times. Then 1 more time. That completes adding my picots. Now I have to advance my thread through the next 3 11-0s, going through this bottom of the picot, like that, and then through the next 2 to exit at the top of that picot. All right, so now I'm going to add my last 3 SuperDuos, exiting the top of that picot, going into the next one. 2 more times, pick up another SuperDuo, going into the next picot, and then 1 more SuperDuo, going into that last picot, and through the next SuperDuo bottom hole to step up. Now I'm going to reinforce by going through the next 6 beads, exiting the bottom hole of the SuperDuo, going in through the 11-0, bottom hole of the next SuperDuo. Do that 2 more times. Go through the 11-0, bottom hole of the SuperDuo. And then 1 more time. Go through the 11-0 and bottom hole of that SuperDuo, like that. So from here, we're going to step up from the bottom hole to the top hole. And now we're going to add our last 3 11-0s in blue. So pick up 1 bead, exiting the top hole of the SuperDuo, going in through the next empty hole. Do that 2 more times. Pick up your 11-0 in Blue Iris, exiting here, going in through this one. And 1 more. Going in through the next SuperDuo, and then step up to that next Blue Iris. And now what we're going to do is reinforce this, because this is the end of our necklace. So we're going to bring our needle back through all of the beads, like that. Go through these next 2, and then through the next 2. So now that I have that reinforced, I'm going to get my closed jump ring, and we're going to add that on next. All right, so with our thread coming out of this 11-0, I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s in silver, my closed jump ring, and then 2 more 11-0s in silver. And I'm exiting here. I'm going to bring my needle just through the opposite side. I'm going to come in through the 11-0 and the SuperDuo on the other side, like that. Just pull that down. And I'm going to reinforce. So right now my thread is coming out of this SuperDuo here. I'm just going to bring my thread back up through. I'm going to pick up go through the silver, 2 silver on this side, go through my O-ring, pull, and then down through the 2 silver, like that. And then I'm going to go through the SuperDuo and through the seed bead to kind of anchor it on both sides. So that kind of centers the O-ring a little bit. So I'm going to repeat, coming out of this 11-0 here, I'm going to come through the SuperDuo and come from the other side. And I'm going to go back up through these silver 11-0s, through my O-ring, then down. Now I'm going to go through the SuperDuo and come back up through the silver 11-0s, through my O-ring, then back down. And you want to reinforce this 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter what direction you go in, just reinforce it, going back and forth. And I'm going to do one more, and I think that should be good. Go back through, then down. And now I'm going to just bring my thread through the SuperDuo, and I'm going to advance my thread downwards through my work, going through the next hole, and I'm going to start doing some half hitch knots. So it doesn't matter where you do this, just pick a spot and then just go backwards, create a loop, and pull your needle through that, and pull to do your knot. Now I'm going to just advance through some beads, just zigzagging to get your thread in place. There's no right or wrong way to do this, so just pick whatever path works and do a couple more knots on your way down. And I'm just going to continue weaving my thread through a few more beads like this, and I'm going to go ahead and clip my thread right here. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to add my open jump ring with the magnet. Now I've already done this on this side, so you can see what that looks like, and that's adding about a 1/2 inch length on each side. So this gives me the option, the reason I did it that way is to give me the flexibility. If somebody doesn't want a magnet clasp, I can always change that out and pull that off and put something else, or do a extender chain with lobster clasp. So that's my thought process behind it. So let me get my jump ring here. Go ahead and get this open. And this is about a 6mm. You can use a 5 or 6mm jump ring. Just get that open. Place that through the closed jump ring, and then your magnet clasp on the other end, like so. And now you can close your jump ring, making sure there's no gaps, like that. So there you have a beautiful rope necklace. Let me raise my camera so you can see this a little better. It's gorgeous. And you can use any color combinations. Now, I don't know if my camera might not be showing this quite so well, but this is actually a pastel pink on the SuperDuos. It's kind of washed out, but I wanted to use a lot of contrasting colors so you could see what I was doing. So I have the blue iris, the galvanized silver for contrast, and then the SuperDuos in the light pink and the pastel pink pearls. Very pretty. You could make this into a bracelet easily if you wanted to. Imagine doing a bracelet like that. That would really be pretty. Make beautiful gifts. So there you have it, a beautiful rope bracelet. It's about an 8 hours worth of beading, so you'll want to take your time with this, grab a cup of tea, and enjoy what you're working on. Just beautiful. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I do have a website where I sell my own jewelry, so feel free to check that out. There will be a link in the description box if you click more. Also, if you're not a subscriber, I hope you do subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and feel free to give me some feedback on what you think of this tutorial. Also, I will have links to the suppliers where you can get these beads, and hope that you had fun with this today. So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful week and happy beading. See you next time.